In this segment, Stephanie Miller and her guests talk Trump's lawlessness and his seeming contempt for the rule of law. Here's Stephanie.
Well, Lawrence, I think a couple of things are going on, and one is perhaps the most obvious. This is a person who has untreated psychiatric disorders, and any untreated disorder of any kind worsens over time, as long as it remains untreated. So it makes perfect sense that somebody who is unhealthy as he is, who is under the extraordinary amount of stress he's under, would have a harder time holding it together cognitively. The other thing that I think is interesting, before I get to the second point, is that Donald was always quite good when he was younger at sticking to a point, and he knew certain things about his business, so he could say perfectly reasonable statements like that with confidence. And let's be fair, he was very good at being in the media, and that's one of the main reasons my grandfather chose him to be his successor, because he had that kind of presence. So the second point, though, that it struck me in watching that is that his target audience has changed dramatically in the ensuing decades. He used to be focused on becoming a part of New York City's upper crust inner circle. He desperately wanted to be part of that milieu. He desperately wanted to be accepted by his betters, which is how he perceived them. And now he appeals to an audience that appreciates the kind of anecdotes about showers that don't produce water, and that is full of the kind of invective and hatred that he has now become expert at. So I think those two things kind of track together.
And we have this just crooking in public and wide open. And that's all that they can say is, I don't know, I didn't hear about that. Really? That's it. That's your defense.
Stephanie, first of all, let's go back to Trump's first term. He was impeached because he was busy trying to extort the president of Ukraine for dirt on his eventual political rival. You have to be like, if you have to go to that extent to find dirt on your political rival, it's not just some low-hanging fruit. We've got plenty of low-hanging fruit on Trump. We don't need special investigators. We don't need to bribe or extort anybody. It's right there in your face. And part of what is so ridiculous about what Speaker Johnson said, everything that President Trump does is out in the open. Yeah, so just because his crimes are blatant and out in the open, it doesn't make it a better crime. You didn't find anything on President Biden, and you had special investigators. You had, what's that guy's name? Comer, spent 4 years looking for something, anything on President Biden. Found nothing.
This is how we both sides our way to this particular point in our history. I mean,
President Biden could have squashed that investigation. If he was Trump, he would have squashed it.
Right.
But he just let it go. Yeah, go nuts, guys. Find it.
Yeah. So let's go back to, because a lot of people want to know your reaction to that Senator Murphy clip about not being entirely sure we're going to have free and fair elections. I mean, that's terrifying. So talk about that a little bit, because what happens when we're out of power? Right. What do we do about it?
So how Republicans react in this Medicaid fight, I think, is going to be very telling, right? Because you saw Josh Hawley go on the record by saying he thinks it would be a humongous mistake to cut $700 billion from Medicaid. And there are some Republicans who are against it. But for the most part, almost everything Donald Trump has done that just just reeks of corruption and just wrongness, they've turned a blind eye to. And it makes me feel as though the fix is in. And if they don't go along with the program,
like they don't think they're going to have to face the voters, right?
yeah, yeah. If they don't go along with the program, well, then you don't get the special button press for your reelection effort. And this button press, by the way, mind you, eliminates your need for having to spend half of your term fundraising, because we all know that that's what, politicians, they have to spend half of their time raising money, going to these dinners and lunches and shaking hands and blah, blah, blah. Right. Now they don't have to do that if the fix is in. If Elon's guys have wormed their way into the system and nobody even knows what they've done. There's zero oversight on what his hackers, what qualified these guys to be all in our private business? Huh?
Right.
Nothing.
Well, like everybody said,
there's
if you're looking for waste, you bring accountants. You don't bring programmers, right?
Exactly. Accountants and auditors, and and you don't act like it's a fire sale, like everything must go. There's been this crazy chaotic approach to like just kicking down doors and stamping everything fraud and abuse, fraud and abuse. I would have thought if you were really looking for fraud and abuse, they would have come out with tens of billions of dollars out of the Pentagon, but
So,
you're almost nothing.
We
out of there.
we obviously are having electoral successes that of course don't ever get covered anywhere, right? But I mean Wisconsin and this Omaha. But I don't know what you think. Whether but they're going to focus whatever they're going to do if there is effery going on. Is it going to be focused on the midterms and the presidential? I mean, I still get why people have questions about 2024, don't you?
Yes, and it's partially because of the comments that Trump made. I think it was to a crowd in Pennsylvania, where he was like, "Oh, Elon, we thought we weren't going to win, but Elon, Elon is good at computer." He said, "Don't worry about it."
Yours is the sleepiest Trump impression. I like it.
Yeah.
And there are other reasons why people are leery about what happened with the 2024 election. It just it just seems bizarre that he won every last swing state. Makes no sense. Makes no sense to me at all. And there were all those disruptions during the election that, frankly, we didn't look into. Nobody on our side looked into those things, and I think they deserve to at least have been looked into. All these polling station disruptions during the election, on the day of the election, and not one person looked into it because President Biden and Kamala Harris didn't want a replay of
because they scared us into being like, we don't want to be the election deniers and the crazy conspiracy theorists. They have no compunction. They still scream that 2020 was stolen. There's zero evidence of it. Even with Trump officials and Trump appointed judges. And anyway, don't get me started.